Hey guys, what's up? This break, I'm going to bring you a quick breakdown on the new monster, Snow White. She was just released out in the patch today. There was a lot of spoilers and like data mining happening around her, but today we're going to go through her. She's going to be the Rebirth Festival Monster. So she's going to be replacing Thor when that comes around. So you're going to have to give up 3 natural 4-star above monsters to basically rebirth this monster over a period of 3 days. I'm actually kind of excited about this one though, for reasons that you'll see as we go through each of them. This is like one of the first times that I feel each one of the different elements of Snow White are actually useful in helping you progress through the game. So first off, we're going to jump right into the fire one right here. So the fire one is an attack type monster at 6-star Evo 3. So there you can see her Evo 3 form there, normal variant. At 6-star Evo 3, she's got 23,000 health, 3,300 attack, 2,300 defense, and recovery doesn't really matter with her because she's not that. Jumping into her skills here, the Barb Staff, which is a single target attack. HP Siphon, attacks restore own HP in proportion to the amount of damage dealt. Pretty decent skill. She's a self-sustainer, which is nice. And then her Glacial Burst, which is an AoE, has an 80% chance to seal for 2 turns. Now, this monster is a great choice for Basement 9 of Golems if you haven't gotten through that yet or you're struggling still to put together a good team. One, she's a self-sustainer, which means those saps that the boss in Basement 9 is going to put on is not going to be as big of a deal. And then the seal is going to actually help prevent more saps from going on. Now, Crisis Aversion is a interesting leader skill, and we'll get to that when we get to some of the other Snow Whites down the road, because it's specifically in the Astromon League. Now, Fire, I don't really see a use for in the Astromon League as a defender or as an attacker, really, because of her skills. She doesn't really bring a lot of utility unless you're able to get that seal off more often than not. So that's the Fire one. Basement 9, I would gem her for starting out. Valor, attack, maybe HP or attack defense, just to give her a little bit more survivability. But otherwise, she's going to be a real good choice there in the golems for us. And then we're going to move over into the water one. And the water one is going to be nice because, as you can see right now, that again, she's an attack type monster. But if you look at her skills right off the bat, just looking at those images, those are attack down images. So there's the normal water, variant water. I think variant looks alright. Also an attack type monster. She's got 2,800 or 28,000 HP, 3,200 attack, 2,000 defense, and 2,000 recovery. So a little bit less defense, a little bit more defense. Sorry, a little bit less attack, and definitely more HP. Taking a look at her skills, she's got the same leadership skill there, the Crisis Aversion, but both of her normal and active skills are attack down, which makes her a prime candidate for Basement 8. It's the easiest one, but if you are just getting to Basement 8 and putting together a team, a monster who has attack down on both of her skills and has elemental affinity against it, this was like made for that particular dungeon. Again, like the fire one, basic gemming set, I would go Valor, attack, HP, attack, defense, or attack. If you got some decent substats on there, would be able to pull that off. And then you'd be able to use her pretty regularly in that Basement 8 run. So again, pretty useful in progression for that reason. And then we pop back over here, we got the wood one. And the wood one is going to be a balance type. It's actually going to be a little bit different than the other two because the last two we've seen have both been attack types. So with the balance type here, we're looking at 30,000 health, 2,300 attack, 2,400 defense, and 2,300 recovery. Now, there's her variant. Not kind of more of a tealish, but I like the regular color better. Now for her, she is a prime candidate for basement 7 golems, because she's got sap on the first skill and petrification on that second skill. Now, like I was talking about in the golems video, petrification, it does stun the foe, stun the opponent, but it also has an increased defense effect on them, which means you're not going to deal as much damage to them. However, that sap is going to be absolutely crucial to building a basement 7 team, and also even potentially a basement 10 team, because both of those golems are HP. They're tank based, HP based, which means sap is just going to do a set amount of damage, or a percentage amount of damage, every single turn. So this one is a 90% chance to inflict the enemy with sap damage for 2 turns. So the way to look at that is each time sap affects the target with her, that's 10% of the health gone. So you really only need her to hit about 10 times to be able to take down any of these bosses. And then the petrification, 80% chance to petrify for 1 turn. So dealing with the waves, making sure that you're getting an AoE stun out there, making it easier to manage those waves is definitely an improvement. So then we'll go from her. So that's the the wood one. We'll jump over to the light here. And for the light, you'll see right away that she is a tank type monster, which means she's going to be HP based. So we're starting to move away from the attack types, away from the balance type, and getting into that HP. And at 6 start here, she's going to have 38,000, almost 40,000 HP, 2,000 attack, 2,400 defense, and only 1,800 recovery. But again, because she is a tank type monster and not a recovery is not really going to affect her too much. She doesn't have a recovery skill either, so it's not like you really need that. I like her variant. That's her normal. That's her variant. Her variant color is pretty nice. But her skill set here is all about that league defense. So a couple big things here. One, she has the reduces enemies' critical hit rate by 15 to 20% in the Astromon League. Now, what does this mean? Say you have a dark type attacking team, because God knows that critical damage that they do is phenomenal. They've built it up and they've gotten to like 90% critical hit rate, so they are critting 90% of the time with their dark monsters, which is just destroying most everything else because they already start with a massive boost to their critical damage. With this leader skill, it's actually going to drop that rate from between 15 and 20%. So it's going to take that 90% critical rate to about a 70 to 75. And of course, if they have 100%, it's going to drop them, to somewhere between 85 and 80%. So what does this mean? That means some of those skills that require critical hit to actually activate, such as the Dark Seedlers, who gets elemental advantage when he crits, is going to go down. Her other 2 skills are actually really nice as well. She's got the single target shock, 70% chance for 1 turn, and she's got an AoE shock, 70% chance for 1 turn. So she's 70-70 on that shock for both AoE and single target. Now, she is a tank type monster, which means she's going to fit in with, you'll probably see her a lot as you start to climb, because she'll fit in with the current, light meta HP based defense teams with like Light Shiva, Light Odin, now Light Thor is another one that you have on there, and I'm pretty sure Snow White's going to start making the teams once we start seeing her rebirth and built, because she's got 38,000 HP already, which makes it really easy for you to build her, HP defense, HP, just to make her super tanky and last a long time. I am going to quickly compare her to one other monster, because she is kind of a slightly better debuffer, but not as heavy on the health. If we look at her compared to Thor, which was the last month rebirth, Thor has 41,000 HP, whereas she only had 38,000. He's got a little bit less attack and about the same defense. Thor, the big difference here is Thor's got defense as the leader skill, and he's a 60-60 on shock and defense down. So I could actually see a lot of people switching out Thor for Snow White once she starts being built up and 6-starred, because she's got 10% chance more on both shock and, or on her normal and active skills, and they're both shock, which means they are both stuns plus defense downs. So you might start seeing her more and more often on the league defense, as well as her leader skill is specifically in the Astromon League. So you might actually see her quite a bit. Is she an offensive type monster for League? Definitely has the possibility for that. If you pair her up with a couple attack type monsters and you manually are attacking with her first to try and get that shock off and then taking advantage of the defense down and the stun. But really, she's more of a defense monster. How would I rune her? As I was saying, HP, HP, HP. HP for days, man. Life set. Get that HP on there. I mean, you could mix and match some other things. So, that is the light one. And moving on to the last one here, we got the Dark, who is a dark attack type monster. Now, she is the one that I've been hearing the most buzz about, and when we take a look at her skill set, we'll see why. She does have the highest attack out of any of the Snow Whites. She also has a different name. It's called Tainted Snow White, which is real interesting that they actually changed the Dark's name on her. I kind of like that variant. It looks a little bit better than her. I like that one better. We'll leave that one on there for the video. So as far as her stats go, at 6-star, 27,000 HP, 3,400 attack, 2,200 defense, 2,000 recovery. Not bad for an attacker. Actually really good in comparison to... Oh, what am I doing here? So we got her 6-starred in comparison to... Let me pull him up here on the other side. Boom, boom, boom. 34 compared to some of the 5-star ones, like one of the best, single target attackers in the game here, and one of my personal favorite monsters. Just real quick, looking at it, Fire Indra, 6-starred, 3,600 attack. So only 200 attack difference between the two, and it's much harder to get to Evo 2 Fire Indra. What you're more likely going to see is a 6-starred Evo 2, which has only 2,900 attack. So the Fire Indra, which is a 5-star monster, really hard to get your hands on. The Dark Tainted Snow White here is a great alternative. Part of the reason that she's getting such a hype right now is partly for her skill set. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So our first one is Hunter. Increases critical hit damage by 50%. Now, Dark monsters already have their crit damage bonus starting at 100%, which means if anybody can get, well, pretty much once you get her crit rate up near that 100%, she is going to be doing 150% critical hit damage on her normal skill. Fantastic. I love it. Her expose, she actually also has the expose weakness. Now we've seen it on the light Kiki, and what most people have determined is that, and what you've been able to see if you used it, is that it increases the next attack's damage by like basically doubles it by 100%. It increases by 100%. So 80% chance to expose weakness for 2 turns on everybody. And then on her next turn, when she goes back to just being able to use her normal skill where she's hitting for 150% damage, that 150% damage instantly becomes 300% damage on critical hit. So we're talking about major like self synergy here where she's just going to go back and forth killing things and doing it nonstop. And again, decreases the enemy's critical hit rate by 15 to 20%. In the Astromon League, this is the first time Crisis Aversion has been made a leader skill to actually drop the opponent's thing. So you might see a lot of Tainted Snow Whites on attack teams in leagues. You'll see the light one on a lot of league defense teams. They'll kind of go against each other. But where else is Dark Snow White useful? A lot of places. She's just going to be a heavy hitter. It's not going to be a matter of, it's a situational, like I can only use it in basement 8 because it's a water type and they're fire type there. Like dark is pretty neutral to the rest of the game, same as light, which means this one's going to be able to be thrown into like basement 10. It's going to be able to be thrown into basement 7 through 9. It's going to be able to be used on most of the Titans, which is really nice. And it's going to do a lot of damage, hands down. It'll be really great in story modes because there's not a lot of, I think there's 2 zones in the entire story mode farming where you actually deal with light monsters, which means this dark tainted Snow White is going to do a lot of good for you. So like I said, with all the Snow Whites, super excited for him, not because necessarily I'm looking forward to one over the other. In fact, if I was going for one, I'd probably go for the Dark Snow White just because I have a thing for dealing heavy damage. But depending on where you're at in the game, every single Snow White has its use. It's not like the Thors where, like the Fire Thor was kind of like the dud Thor. If you got fire, you were out of luck. In this one, each Snow White has a use that you can have for it based on where you're at in the game. So if you're slowly building those basements 7 through 9s, any of the fire, wood, or water Snow Whites are gonna help you out. If you're working on climbing the league ladder, the light one will help you out with a defense. And if you're just in general need of a good solid attacker, Tainted Snow White, the dark one, is going to be a great choice as well. So that kind of wraps it up for the Snow Whites. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Yeah, enjoy it, guys. Good luck on the rebirths.